Isn't that amazing? I just want to let you guys know that there are people out there, there are friends, there are associates, there are partners that you can engage with and begin to understand a tremendous value that you can get out of just working together and sharing resources. My good friend, Mr. Kaufman, put that together for me and made sure that it was beautiful. I'm sorry, it was Mr. Hoff. I got the name correct. In any case, welcome to Coffee to You and Me. Welcome to our opportunity that I give every single week to share and to communicate and collaborate, actually, with entrepreneurs, vision leaders, professionals all over the world. Today's topic is super exciting because we're going to be talking today about how to establish win-win relationships. How do you establish win-win partnerships? And I've done, obviously, extensive amount of research and writing on this particular topic. And one of the reasons why it's important to me is because I value a couple of key things. One of the first things I value is the fact that none of us can actually have a full expression in our lives and our business, no matter what we do, without the benefit of being able to work collaboratively with others. It is a crucial key skill that as a networker or as even a functioning human being in the process of living and enjoying success and creating opportunities for yourself and for other people, it just it's necessary to work well with others, to learn from others, to grow with others, to be able to make sure that you not are just a team player, but you are an additive and meaningful, instructive member of every team that you're in, whether that's a personal partnership with a friend or an associate, or it's a bigger, larger team or a larger organizational effort. You want to make sure that your contributions and the things that other people contribute because of the gift of relationship with you are going to be meaningful, are going to be purposeful, and are going to be truly, truly special. Before we get started on our topic today, I want to make sure I acknowledge and connect with everybody who's on the call. I see my girl Jean is out there. Thank you for the idea about the video, Jean. I really appreciate that. It's funny. My buddy sent me like a series of 7 to 8 short promo videos about almost everything I did. I mean, he just decided to do that research and his homework on his own, look at my websites, look at different things that I was doing, and just did those videos for me. And so if you really want to have somebody help you create some promotional videos, I've used some of them now already on Facebook in different places where I post information. Let me know, and I can see if he'd be willing to do some things for you. He's just an amazing creative type that just understands how to use his technology and get the best out of it. So I'm going to be using a lot of his videos from now on out, now that I know how to integrate those into the feed, because they really help people understand some of the things that I'm trying to create and some of the things that I'm trying to promote. Today's topic is, like I said, super special to me. I'm hoping that you will see it as something that is additive and useful in your business and in your life as well. We're going to be talking about how to and why you should establish win-win relationships. We're going to talk about everything from how do you measure those relationships, how do you create those relationships, how do you pace them so that you have a series of success along with them, all the underpinning guidelines and thoughts that you're going to need to create as much benefit as you can from all of your creative partnerships, and how do you do that in a way that you get the most benefit so that both of you get the most benefit as possible. And that's why we've entitled our program Win-Win Relationships and Win-Win Partnerships, right? When we get into this, and I really want you to think about it, I'm going to ask you some engaging questions. I'm going to ask you in the chat to go ahead and respond to some of those questions, and so see what we can do to begin to create some dialogue, some back and forth, and some synergy around this concept. But before we get started, I want you to think about it. Have you ever been in a relationship, whether it's personal or professional or whatever it was, that has had a tremendous effect on your ability to move yourself forward? Yes or no? Whether that could have been a coach that you had in high school. It could have been a trainer that helped you develop your technique for something that you were doing. It could be a teacher that has helped to work with you to help you grow. And if that's happened to you, do me a favor, just put yes in the chat box, because I got a feeling that it's happened for all of us. In fact, I know it's happened for all of us. I know that there are many of us who owe almost every step we've ever made in our lives and our businesses to someone else who encouraged us, someone else who thought it was important enough to give us a good word or a good thought about something, someone who helped us to discover and uncover the hidden gems and the gifts that we had within ourselves. Sometimes it's, I talk a lot about gifting with my friends and associates, and a lot of people are very, very reticent to share what they feel like they're really, really good at, to really, really tell us, here is my gift, here's my unique and special contribution to the forward flow of human history. Here's where I hope to make an impact in our society. And I have to say, quite frankly, the younger people find this question on these thought processes much more difficult than, the old gray hairs like me, right? So, I have some thoughts and ideas of where I think my gifts are and what I think I can contribute most successfully in any collaboration, any partnership, any relationship. And to the extent that someone's willing to listen to my expression of those gifts and then to figure out ways to embrace them, to move us both forward by one, allowing me to do what I do exceptionally well and give me the privilege of doing so and the honor of doing so, but at the same time benefiting, both of us benefiting from that gift. That's a win-win relationship. That's what win-win relationship is all about. So to give you a basic framework or a definition of what win-win relationships are all about, let me share this with you. It's a relationship that is both advantageous and satisfactory to everyone involved, and is that is the very definition of win-win. It is advantageous and satisfactory to everyone involved. At best, a win-win relationship or an agreement of any type should seek to create an environment by which both the individuals feel like doing whatever is required to secure and maintain this relationship, to make sure that it's beneficial, to make sure that it's strategic, to make sure that it's profitable, to make sure that it's reasonable, pleasing, and adequate to everything that everyone is bringing to the table. That is a mouthful. And trying to create professional relationships that do that is something that is a bit of a science and a bit of an art. And that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about and share with you how you can create those opportunities. So now, before we get into the meat and the potatoes of today's topic, I want you to think about what would happen if you could not or did not create amazingly functional professional relationships. Relationships that were both advantageous and satisfactory to everyone involved. What would happen? Would that be a horrible situation? Would it take you back a couple of pegs? Would it make you feel like maybe you're not having opportunities to have a meaningful contribution, or what you're doing might not be respectable or acceptable, or it has to be covered up or hidden? And these are kind of things that you have to think about when it doesn't work. When a professional relationship just simply doesn't work, there's probably some reasons why that relationship doesn't work. And maybe there was a lack of commitment on one or both parts. Maybe there was a lack of mutual respect, either for the person that you're in a relationship with or the person that is trying to be in a relationship with you, right? Maybe, one or both of you are having a hard time remaining in a positive outlook, and you certainly don't know how to keep the pace and the rhythm of a project going with one another, taking advantage of both of your strengths and mitigating the risks of your weaknesses. It's very difficult to do all these things. It's very difficult to maintain, and there isn't a whole lot of information that we get, and there's not a lot of practice involved with this unless you've been involved with sports and teams, or you've been involved with music bands, choruses, places where you've had to collaborate, work together as you've grown up with a coach or a director or someone who has helped you sort of establish and mitigate relationships back and forth. And you find that people who have, or you maybe come from a big family, right? And you had to work together a lot in order to accomplish the simplest things, you know, like laundry or vacations or getting packed and ready for vacations. Like these things force you to learn how to work with others. But if you don't have the benefit of those things, and this is, as a society is disconnected as we tend to be, a lot of our children and a lot of professionals are growing into their level of professionalism without having to work collaboratively with other people. And so those skills that they would naturally develop in terms of working with others don't get a chance to come to fruition. They don't get a chance to gel. They don't get a chance to take flight. And it's very, very important that you recognize that the dangers associated with not understanding and learning, you know, what social intelligence really is and how you put in place in everything you do when it comes to other people. I think that you're going to not just slow down your growth, but you're going to literally start to take steps backwards in your professional development and your personal development by not establishing an understanding of how to develop win-win relationships and win-win partnerships. So I'm going to share some good stuff with you. I'm going to share some books that I've read. I'm going to share some tools. In fact, if you look in the chat right now, you should be able to see or download the tools that I have here, that I have available for you guys. And in the toolkit, you're going to see a couple things. One, you're going to see the total presentation of what what we think win-win is all about, along with some amazing quotes and things like that, which we're going to share with you today. But you're also going to see, which I think is special, the tools in the back of that 6-page document are going to be able to give you a great insight into what you need to do to have win-win conversations with your friends, your partners, your associates, that you feel like you're really to take the relationship to that next level so they can actually grow together with each other and benefit from each other. It's also going to have what I call the win-win SWOT analysis. Now, all these tools are takeaways for you. They're free. You don't have to worry about paying for them. You don't have to worry about consulting on them. But here's my promise to you. If you have questions about anything that we're going to share today, anything that inside the toolkit or anything we're going to talk about live, do me a favor. Feel free to ask them. Ask them in the chat, or you can direct message me either on Facebook or LinkedIn. I like DMs. They work well for me. And I will respond. I may not respond immediately, but trust me, I will get that direct message and I will respond. So if you've had a chance to link with me on LinkedIn, you can direct message me there. If you've had a chance to link with me on Facebook or my professional page, which most of you are already on right now, you can direct message me there and ask whatever questions you want to ask. I am looking for opportunities right now to take this particular show on the road and work with small companies who know that they really cannot do it all by themselves. Companies who really understand that they can't be the chief marketer, the bottle washer, the accountant, the sales professional, everything they need to do all by themselves with a level of quality. And they also can't manage their teams effectively without understanding how to create win-win relationships and win-win partnerships. And that extends into creating winning teams. And so take the tools that I'm sharing with you and share them with anybody you want. I don't care. I'm not going to say just because it's copyrighted material. Take it and use it for whatever you want. Copy it as many times as you want. Share it with anybody you want to share it with. The link, I'll leave that link up for at least a month or so. And if somebody, you want to share it with somebody, don't feel, you can even attach this video, because this video is going to be recorded both on YouTube and on Facebook, so people can get a feel for some of the things that you're going to enjoy what we're talking about today. Thank you very much, Gene. I really appreciate that. Absolutely. And share whatever you can share, or connect me in any way you possibly can. I'm really open to working with people to help them flesh out, especially their partnerships. It's very, very difficult to do. Most people don't do this well. And with the tools we're going to share with you today, and the ideas and concepts that I'm going to share, everybody's going to get a chance to really, really do better when it comes to creating partnerships and win-win relationships. So let's get into the meat and the potatoes of the program today. Oh, I got to do something. One more housekeeping thing to make sure. I got a couple of my friends on the call. I want to make sure I give them a shout out, right? My first person I always want to talk about is my boy, Scott. I love Scott to death. He and I are like brothers from another mother. And it's so good to have you on the call, Scott. I know you're busy caring for your parents and trying to be a professional at the same time. You're my hero in almost every regard, man. You're doing a really good job. And it's raining outside right now, but we got to get back in the racquetball court, man. We got to get back out there and play as soon as possible. Also, Jean, it's good to see you as well. Jean is my fellow cohort here in Centerville, Virginia, and she's an amazing attorney. Anytime you get a chance and you have some questions about anything regarding traffic or anything regarding, issues regarding the law here in Virginia, the traffic law specifically here in Virginia, you can depend on Jean or to be able to get you connected to the right information. She's an amazing professional. And so I truly endorse and support everything she does, because I think she's going to be one of the shining stars in the legal industry here in Virginia. And that's fun that I can say, I kind of met her in the beginning, right? I want to see this go to great places, and I know she can do it. Okay, so back to our topic today. Like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about win-win partnerships and what they mean and how they work. And I'm going to share with you some of the research that we know from books that come from like Danny Goleman or some of the other people who write about networking and relationships. And Dan Goleman, in his book, Social Intelligence, posed a very, very unique idea that was built on his first book, which was emotional intelligence and all the science behind it. And it just, I hinted at it earlier, but in Dr. Goleman's book, he really shares with us the reasoning and the rationale behind understanding that emotions are the magic elixir that makes all human beings function well. And we have to learn why they're important, how to use them to make sure that we're working well with each other. And so when I started thinking about and writing about win-win relationships and partnerships, I used a lot of the backdrop that I've gotten from Dr. Goleman and a lot of other professionals who study this in recent terminology, in a recent way, not just digging back into the old stuff that we already knew, because we already knew why relationships are important. We already knew what worked to make relationships important, but we just didn't know why. We didn't know the neurology or the neuroscience behind it. And now we do, and we're beginning to uncover more and more about that. And let me say this real quick before I get into the details of this thing here. There are things that no matter what we learn about it, we can always go deeper. There's always more that we don't know than we actually do know in about any particular topic. And so I think life is a process of unfolding and becoming more and developing a deeper level of wisdom, always knowing that there's probably more to know. None of us is what I would consider a finished product. We are all ongoing, unfinished projects. And I like to think of myself that way. I like to think of others that way, because in doing so, I give myself the benefit to grow, the opportunity to grow, and I give others the benefit to grow. And that means that we're not always going to get it right 100% of the time, all the time. That means that there's going to be room for us to make mistakes. There's got to be room for us to even fail. And that doesn't matter. What matters is that we continue and keep going. And I find that when you have good relationships and good partnerships and good friends and good associates, and you know how to use those really, really well, you will get back up faster. You will become more resilient. You will become stronger and better all the time. So let's get into the details, the meat and potatoes of our topic today. Today, we're going to talk about what I call the 4 strategies of win-win partnerships. Now, these 4 strategies are not the only strategies that you're ever going to use when it comes to developing win-win. But I think they are the key essential strategies that if you ignore, the problems that you're going to figure out and come up with are going to be phenomenal. They're going to be difficult. They're going to be overwhelming. They're going to be things that really, really slow you down. Like my boy Scott said earlier, they're going to waste your time. And the time is really this wonderful opportunity for all of us that we either have or we don't have. And we cannot waste it, because every second, every minute of every day is an opportunity for us to express and do what we were put here to do. And when we waste that time with each other or with other people, we rob somebody else of that benefit. We rob somebody else of the benefit of what we can bring to the table, or we rob them of the benefit of what they can bring to the table by not paying attention to what it really takes to create win-win partnerships. So what are the 4 stages or 4 strategies of win-win partnerships? Well, strategy number 1, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn how to keep and maintain what I call mutual respect. When you really get at that, it really helps to sink a relationship deeper and to really do some things. We're going to talk about that. The next thing you got to really be able to do exceptionally well when it comes to developing win-win relationships is you got to make sure that you're doing whatever it takes to help each other win, right? You must, and number 3, you must maintain a positive outlook. And last but not least, number 4, you must learn to celebrate even the small victories along the way. So let's get into it. Some of the things that you're going to hear me talk about, you might think are common sense, and that's because they are common sense. But they have common sense that have, we now know, like I said earlier, they have a neurological basis in their foundation that we can't get away from. We can't get away from the earliest parts of what made humans humans and why we are the way we are. Phil Jackson said this quote. I love this quote when it comes to win-win partnerships. He said, "The strength of a team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team." The strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team. I like to think of the humankind and mankind as this collective body, all seeking to serve each other, to grow, to make opportunities happen for one another. But somehow, there are things that have gotten in our way that if we clear those products up, or those ideas up, then we can get there faster, to a point where we're all serving each other, and we're working well together, we're collaborating together, and we are all a part of each other's strength in a magical way. Okay, so step number 1, I said this earlier, right, is to keep and maintain mutual respect. This is a difficult thing, because often to get the respect that you deserve and that you will honor and that you will appreciate from other people, it becomes important for you to be able to share what it is that you love about yourself, what it is that you think you bring to the table that is unique and a differential and special. And to this point, I think is very, very significant. Because if you can't articulate what it is you respect about yourself, what it is that you think is dignified about you, what it is that you think you bring to the table that can be leveraged, not just in terms of talent or skills or competencies. I'm talking about values. I'm talking about principles, a fundamental basis that helps you make the decisions that you make. If you don't know what those are, if you haven't done that soul searching, if you're not doing that research, if you're not engaged in the process of answering what I call the three most important questions in life. And I can't say that I came up with these thoughts or these phrases. I have to say I learned them from a professor of African Studies, Dr. Maulana Karenga, who's also the creator of Kwanzaa. And he asked and he said these questions that he learned from studying the wisdom of ancient Africans. He said the ancient Africans always ask these three questions. Who am I? Am I really who I say I am? And am I all that I ought to be? And he thought, that ancient Africans wrestle with these questions. And those who, this is just the fundamental basis of the Kawaida theory that he used to develop Kwanzaa. If you wrestle with these questions, and if you are coming up with the answers and are able to articulate those answers to others, don't they get to know you, really get to know you in a real, authentic way that leads them to either decide, yes, I can respect that quality in you, or I can't, right? And either way, don't you need to know when you're working with people that they respect and love and appreciate you for you? Not the facade of you, not the reasonable facsimile of you, but the authentic you that has done the work in terms of figuring out when and where you enter. How do you participate in this thing, this ongoing thing called life? So you got to respect each other. One of the ways that you respect each other in your professional lives is showing up for each other, showing up really prepared. If you're going to have a meeting, if you're going to have an opportunity to be with one another, then don't show up and be unprepared. Do your homework. Learn about the people that you're trying to work with. Figure out what it is that you like about the people that you're really trying to work with. Figure out what it is that you respect about a person as authentically as possible before you decide you're going to start to have meetings with them and you're going to start to get together with them. There has to be some fundamental connective tissue, that basis for which your relationship exists. And hopefully by now you've already blown past that. But if you haven't, or if you've got a relationship that you've kind of been hanging on to, but you haven't really actualized or made it, you need to go back and really ask yourself, what is it that you respect about this person? What have they shown you? What have they been able to articulate? What have you seen in them that makes you feel like you can honor them, makes you feel like they have a load of integrity around this issue, this idea, this concept, whatever it is? Because you need to know what that is, because that's going to be something that you're going to have to hang on to. And it's got to be something that's truthful and honest. So one of the ways you discuss that and discover that is really if you think that it's somebody has a level of credibility around it, around an idea or concept that you think is important, mention it to them and ask them, how did they develop this level of integrity? How did they develop this character? How did they develop this skill, this quality in themselves? And you'll find that some people have put a lot of work into who they become and how they become. And some people just quite naturally have fallen into it and hasn't really thought about the work that was put in. But I promise you, most of us, if you see some greatness in somebody, there's been some nurturing that has had to happen in order for that greatness to shine through. Very few of us are just born. There's no born Serena and Venus Williams. These were people, yes, they were born, but they were also created in terms of the nurturing by their father first, and then by so many others after him to develop their skills in tennis. If they didn't have that nurturing, I got a feeling they would be today some pretty good amateur players, right? If they ever pick up a tennis racket at all. So it's very, very important that you understand that, respect comes from showing up, and it comes from recognizing when someone else is showing up and what their gifts are. Confucius says, respect yourself and others will respect you. I love this thought when it comes to respect, because I realize at this point that it's very, very important that if you don't respect yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to respect others. And when you respect others, others respect you right back. But it all stems from that level of self-respect, that level of self-regard, that level of self-determination, and an idea that you are willing to bring to the table. And if you know that you have it, you have that confidence, then you're going to enter the world in a different way than a person who doesn't have the confidence of their own integrity, which I think we all deserve. So do that work first, and then start to work with why you think other people have integrity and why you think that you can respect them, and you'll get there. Another thing you need to think about when it comes to opening up your connection for one another and deepening your respect is making sure that you're being honest with each other and opening up the progress that you're doing regularly. You need to have regular, consistent contact with each other, and you need to have sort of a process or progress update with one another, which you're going to share a little bit about that in detail a little bit. But think about that. If you're not regularly meeting, if you're not regularly coming together, if you're not regularly assessing the quality of your relationship and where it's going and how it's affecting the ultimate desires that you have, the vision that you have for the relationship, then I think you're in a world of hurt, and you need to figure out how to get that relationship on track towards something that's meaningful for both parties. And but when you lack respect, this becomes very difficult. When you have respect, this is so much easier to do, because now you can make commitments and you can share with each other without the fear of associating with somebody taking from you, or worrying that somebody is going to not use what you share with them in a positive way. Okay, so respect is key. And understanding how to promote, how to discipline yourself to grow and move higher levels of respect in relationship is very, very important. Number two, you got to be willing to commit to helping each other win. I can respect you all day long. I mean, I really could feel wonderful about your character and your competence, and I could really be excited about who another person is. But it's another thing to be committed to helping them win, and for them to be committed to helping me win. And this quote from Barack Obama is really going to set the stage for what I think commitment is really all about. President Obama said, a change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. Change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. When ordinary people come together and they find ways to connect with one another, and they find ways to bond with one another, and they find ways to share with one another, they feel a level of safety, they feel a level of confidence, and that confidence and safety encourages them to do more than they ever would do by themselves. And by doing that, they become more collectively than they can ever become as individuals. So in your level of working with other people and committing to helping each other win, there's a couple things that you got to remember to do, and you got a couple and thought processes you got to remember to have. And one of those things is that you have to be able to share what you hope to gain from the relationship, from the partnership. I love this because in this, I think every relationship should have a vision for what it's going to be when it's all grown up, right? And a good way to begin to think about that is to begin to answer this question together. What is it, if all things were perfect and everything worked the way we want it to work, what happened if we were just great at working together? What could we be? What could we do? And what could we have? And just go ahead and answer that question in exhaustive detail with one another. And really, really let it sink in. Maybe you take days over a retreat to really get into the details of this. But it's important that you begin to ask that question, because that question starts to provide the meat that's on the plate for your relationship, right? It provides this most satisfactory part of what you're going to need to do to make your relationship thrive. If you know that because of working with someone else, you're going to be or endeavor to be, do, or have something that you both value or want, this makes it so much better than if you just start going, we're going to work on a project. We're going to start to do this one strategy with each other, and that's what we're going to do. You got to think bigger. If you're able to successfully do this thing that you think you want to do with each other, how are you going to be changed? How are you going to grow from that? What is going to happen? What are you going to be, do, or have as a result of it? And also, I like be, do, have as a question, because when you start to ask each other the question, what will we be able to be, do, and have as a result of what we can do together and our commitment to work together, right? You start to look at the subtleties that could derail your process. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later in going through a detailed SWOT analysis in a specific way that I've created. So I hope you guys will understand this. But it's important to do that. It's important to share what you hope to gain. It's important to give each other weekly positive updates. It's important to have appointments with each other. It's important to have brief positive interactions with each other along the way that will help you support, what I like to call the guideposts of your working relationship, those things that you want to be, do, and have. Because you're gonna, as you start to creep up on those ideas or milestones, I also like to say, towards your ultimate victory, whatever that is going to be, then you can see that yourself, you're getting closer and closer and closer to those milestones. And in doing so, another way to show your commitment to each other is to be able to provide each other and be open to providing each other and sharing open and honest feedback. I can't tell you how important that is, that when you can give each other open and honest, clear feedback on everything, it is critical to your growth professionally. It's critical to your growth as a team, and it's critical to the other person's growth professionally and personally, right? And so feedback is that magic manna, that magic mechanism that helps us all know whether or not whatever we're doing is valuable, is meaningful, is significant, is special. Is it a real contribution, or is it something that, other people are just taking for granted and it doesn't mean a whole lot? It just is. You need to know, because that means you're not, again, wasting your time, and you're not wasting your effort. And the partnership there is valuable if it's just all it does really is provide feedback. That's a value. That's a tremendous value, because how easy is it for people when we do things to give us a clap or a hand, or, a cheer or a handshake and all that kind of stuff? Those things, they feel good, they look good. And often we do them because that's what we're supposed to do in the time that we're supposed to do it. That's not necessarily an authentic representation of our genuine love and appreciation. So feedback and having those personal meetings with one another where that feedback can be shared is critically important to the success of a committed professional relationship. If you're in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a mentor or an associate or an advisor, a counselor, a friend, anything, and there's no feedback, then everybody's taking everybody for granted, basically. And there's not an opportunity for anybody in that relationship to grow. It is critical right early and up front that you give every relationship you have the opportunity to give you the feedback necessary to grow as a professional and to grow in that relationship. Number 3, after you've really understood what commitment is all about and you're doing what you need to do, you need to understand how important it is to maintain a positive and optimistic outlook. Again, I can't stress this enough. Your friends, your associates, the stakeholders that you work with, the people who depend on you, they all deserve you to bring to them a positive, optimistic outlook. Because as you work together to achieve whatever you're achieving, it becomes that much more fun. to work with you. If you are a person who brings the Debbie Downer, the emotional discord, the backbiting and the bad attitude to relationships with other professionals, then I get the feeling, and a lot of people say, well, I'm just being honest. Well, you're just honestly being a downer. You're just honestly not fun to play with, and you want to make sure that whatever you do when it comes to working with other professionals, that you are regarded as a person that has a positive outlook, optimistic outlook. Very, very important. So when you're having with your meetings with each other, when you first initially connect with each other, no matter what it is, when that connection, always start with the good news first. Always start with what's wonderful. Always start with being grateful. Always start with the things that are amazingly beautiful about what's happening in your life and your business and your connection with each other. Because when you start from that, it's much easier to get through the melodrama, to get through, and I'm not saying ignore the truth by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want you to think I'm saying that, but understand what I am saying is you've got to focus on the positive every moment of every day. Because when you do that, you make it, first of all, you make other people aware of how wonderful life is and how wonderful life can be and how wonderful business is and how wonderful business can be. And it helps them provide the energy, the strength, the resilience they need to have to be encouraged to keep going, to move forward. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't know how to do that or doesn't live in that positive, optimistic outlook, please don't get in relationships with other people because it's not fun. You're going to do more to detract from them. You're going to do more to demotivate them and bring them down than you will to bring them up. So focus on that every day, especially when you're with people that you say you care about. You have to be positive and upbeat. You have to, because if you do that, then everything's going to work much better. Marcus Aurelius says this: dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. I love that quote. When you think about how important it is that you look forward and you be optimistic about your future and you're hopeful about the positive situations that could be happening in front of you, then that gives you the resilience and the energy you need to keep moving, to keep pushing, to even if it's difficult, you have a little bit more hope and you have a little bit more, authority in whatever it is you bring to the table. So one of the ways you do that is, especially in relationships, is by facing the challenges that you have immediately. Don't sugarcoat stuff. Don't look past it, but face it with the intent of figuring out how to make it better. So some people think that, when you have a positive, optimistic outlook, you're ignoring the truth. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what you're doing. You're not ignoring the problems. You're not suggesting that those problems aren't significant, but you are saying is what's in front of them is what's most important is the joy, the happiness, the friendship, the connection, the beauty that is life. That's so much more important than the negative things that you may see or feel or see happening around you. So you have to set aside the required time. You have to set aside the work time that you need to set aside to work on your partnership. You don't have a partnership if you're not working on it. You don't have a professional relationship if you don't have time in your calendar for the next iteration of this relationship, the next opportunity that you're going to do to come closer, the next thing you're going to do to help you get to the victories that you're looking for. You're out of relationship. It's very, very important that you don't forget or that you remember to always do this. So number 3, we're talking about making sure, again, that we are maintaining a positive outlook. We've committed, we've built it on a foundation of respect. We're maintaining a positive outlook. And the last thing we have to do, and the most important thing we have to do, is learn how to relax, celebrate, have fun. You've got to celebrate even the small victories. In a relationship or professional relationship that's moving forward, there are victories every day. There are victories all the time. you have to learn how to celebrate those victories. Sometimes it's with a hand clap, you're going to get together, give each other a high five, or sometimes you're going to, like on a racquetball court, I've seen people do this, so they tap rackets between each and every point, whether they lost the point, whether they won the point, doesn't really matter. Or they do some kind of victory dance when they get a touchdown, or they make a good play, or they give each other a wink, a nod, a shout, whatever that might be. The Marines might say hoorah, or so different types of military services have a different thing they do to get themselves up and motivate themselves. Maybe they have a call or a song that they sing. Whatever it is that you do to celebrate who you are and your partnership and what you do, figure out what you do. Figure out what that is that you want to do that's uniquely you for just this partnership, for just this relationship. It can't be for every relationship. It has to be specific and unique in this relationship. And I think that's a very, very important thing to do, because you need to find ways to celebrate even the smallest achievement, even every move forward, whether it was, a move that hurt or a move that helped you grow. Usually a move that helps you grow usually hurts too, right? So you might want to think about that. But you got to celebrate those small moments. And that, I think people find that a difficult challenge. Craig Ferguson says this. I love Craig Ferguson, great comedian, right? Anybody or anyone who has just driven 90 yards against a huge man trying to kill them has earned the right to do jazz hands, right? And I like that thought process, because he's talking about football, or not football. What are you talking about? What's that sport where it's sort of like football, but it's not? Rugby. That's what he's talking about. Rugby. Rugby's one of those sports where, you're just pushing, against tremendous odds, and people are trying to, take you down and break you down and wear you down. And it's a difficult sport, to play, but you got to be strong. You got to be resolved, and you got to be, quick, but you also have to be, resilient and keep going and keep pushing. It's all push, 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 push. That's what rugby's all about. Just think about that. When you've gotten just a yard or an inch, don't you deserve a little celebration, just a little bit? When you've moved the needle just a little bit forward, or you've put a tremendous effort in, or you've tried to give everything you have, isn't that something worth celebrating? Just the effort alone. So measure your progress in your partnership. Celebrate each moment. Give value to the collective growth that you're experiencing, and acknowledge the significance of it all. If you can do this well, then I got a feeling you're gonna have great partnerships. You're gonna have great, significant relationships with other people. You're gonna be able to do amazing things. I want to take a minute right now to sort of go back to the chat and see if there's any discussion or conversation that you all want to have, or that you'd like to have, about some of that information that I'm sharing with you. And I see that Jean said she has to go around 3:46. That was a couple minutes ago, so she might be already gone. But feel free to, whether you're seeing this in recording, or you're seeing this at a later date, or if you're seeing this live, to ask any questions or engage in any way you think is powerful or positive. I think you're going to learn a lot from just the engagement piece and being able to do that. There's some tools, again, that I shared with you. If you don't have the tools, if you can't see them either in the chat or in the text for the film itself, you can pull that toolkit down. If you can't find it for whatever reason, again, please DM me, and I will make sure, either on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I will make sure you have the content that we're talking about today. I wanted to share with you. In fact, it's funny, by the way, Scott, you shared with me earlier today an event that was going on that I don't know if you're planning on going to the event or not, but if you are planning on going to the event, I need you to answer my question. I sent you an email back to that. If you're planning on going to the event, I want to know which one you're going to go to, because that's probably the one I want to go to, if I can put it into my schedule. Okay, back to the topic at hand. So we're talking about women relationships, and we've gone through the text of the information that I wanted to share with you all already. But I want to talk to you now about some of the things that you've got to do practically, and some of the questions that you've got to answer practically. Some of those questions together you need to answer, and some of those questions that you need to answer by yourself. And so if you are looking at the document that I'm sharing with you, then you want to look on page 5, and we're going to talk about win-win partnership exercises. These exercises are exercises that you can do with your partner. Sometimes you can do some of them alone, but these exercises will help you begin to cover those 4 elements, the 4 strategies we talked about earlier in your relationship. So one of the questions I like to ask, or exercises I like to perform, is I like to look at my relationship and list out the things that I really, really enjoy about this person. What are the just maybe 10 or 12 or 20 ideas or items I can come up with that I really, really enjoy about this person? And then what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll say, okay, what is the things I could do without? And I'll, in priority list, I'll start crossing those ideas off that list, and I'll get down to the top 3 or 5, and then I'll prioritize those top 3 or 5 based on what's most important to me. And then I will put some real meat on the bones, and I'll go, okay, this is what I value in this person, and this is why these things are important to me. And then I'll share that with them. And when you do that, you have the most meaningful discussions. You have the most wonderful discussions that allow you to really help to explore each other's strengths and each other's, opportunities that you have to work together. But it takes an effort of listening. It takes an effort of really, really thinking about another person and what they bring to the table. I also like to make sure, from a meeting point of view, I make sure I schedule time for my partners. People that I want to work with closely, especially on a project or a program or some type of thing, we're going to schedule regular update meetings, either once a week or once every 2 weeks at the max. I'm not going to go further out than 2 weeks without getting in touch with each other. Even if it's for 10 to 20 minutes, we're going to get in touch with each other just to give each other updates on the progress, to make sure that we're doing well in terms of what we said we're going to do, and we're connecting at the same time. It's very, very important to find ways to connect. And if that meeting can be a Zoom meeting, it could be a face-to-face meeting. If you really have no issues with transferring the COVID virus to each other, if you can figure out ways to do that face-to-face, even better. But it's important to have those weekly or bi-weekly meetings that are on a regular schedule, because a person who's in your life is a person that got in your calendar. Is on your calendar. If they're not on your calendar, then they maybe not in your life. You're not in your business, and you run the risk of falling apart and falling away from each other. And by the way, those meeting times are ways for you to update each other on the partnership work that you've done. If you haven't done any work between the meetings that you have, we're going to come up short in the meeting. And so if there's something that makes you, for some reason, you can't do whatever you promised to do from this meeting to the next meeting in someone, you probably should be updating that partner right away, that there's a ball that's about to drop. There's something that's not going to get done because something else happened in your life or your business. But I like to make sure that you schedule time to work on the stuff that you promised that you're going to work on, and that you do it even on your own schedule when your partner is not around, because that shows the respect, again, back for the partnership and the relationship and the commitment to move the thing forward. Number 3, one of the things you might want to think about doing is answering the following question. I already gave you an idea about this. Assuming that everything was perfect and everything was great in your relationship and your partnership, what would you be able to be, do, and have as a result? The be, do, and have questions help you start to establish milestones that you're looking for. And when you get those milestones all worked out, then you can pace it out. You can get to the finish line. You can get to the back of whatever you're trying to get to with a straight line, versus wandering around trying to figure out what it is we are, what it is we're all about, what it is we're trying to do. You don't have to do that anymore. Share whatever values and principles that you have with each other. Those are very, very important things to do. If you have foundational values that are important to you, and they're not just important to you because they're important to you, they're important to you because of how you express them and what they mean to you. And that is really when it boils down to it. You could be a risk taker, right? You can value taking risks, and your partner can value taking risks. But if you don't agree on what risk and how to take those risks, then you're going to have friction. Because it doesn't matter that you're both mavericks or that you're both, committed to be courageous. It doesn't matter. It's the quality of what that means to each of you that matters the most. And that's what I want you to discuss, not just the values or the principles themselves, but how they mean and how they express themselves in your world and in how you value them in the highest in terms of expressing them. That's very, very important to discuss with your partner. If you don't, then I got a feeling that you're going to, find ways to move in the wrong directions with each other and not know it until it's always been some damage done. And you want to try to prevent the damage by talking about the fundamentals of your character with each other right up front. One of the things you might want to do is always provide weekly feedback to each other, not just update each other on what you're doing, but update each other on how you're feeling about what you're doing and how you are doing it with each other. These things are very, very important. This kind of feedback is something that gives your relationship permission to flower, permission to bloom, permission to grow. If you're constantly in feedback mode with each other, you're constantly helping each other reach to that next level, just stretching right beyond what your current capabilities are, just moving forward, then you're going to have a good partnership. You're going to have somebody who is responsible for helping you get to places where you could not have gotten or would not have gotten alone, most likely. And so you want to make sure that you're giving each other that feedback that helps you grow, feedback that helps you stretch. Number 6, we talked about milestones earlier, but it's important as you establish those milestones or what you're going to be doing, have as a result of working with each other. You lay those milestones out in some type of chart or some type of program or some type of document that you both can see, that you can see your progress as you're moving towards each milestone that is important for you to hit on your way to the finish line. If you don't have a graphic illustration of the growth that you're hoping to achieve in your relationship or because of a relationship, something that you can both look at and see the progress as you're moving forward, and ask the question, what do we need to do to move forward faster? Then I think you're missing some of the strategy that you could really use to grow yourself and your business. The last exercise I love to do is really determining what's a good celebration. What's our victory march? What's our song? What's our dance? What is it that we're going to do when we know we're winning? When we're winning and we recognize that we're winning with each other and for each other, what is it that we're going to do? What's our ritual? This is an important thing to think through, because if it can't be cheesy or not fun for both of you, it's got to be fun for both of you. If it's only one of you doing it, then you're going to find yourself, feeling like, we're going to sing that song again, or we're going to do that special handshake or that little dance or whatever. If you haven't done it, I could put a link here in the document. This is John Lewis's Happy Dance. He recently passed away, Congressman that recently passed away, but he was always a joyous person, always a person that was fun to be around. And it was him doing dance to the Happy song. Just think about that. If there was a special dance you would do with each other, or something that you would do to celebrate the victories and the small moments that you got from one another, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be awesome? The last thing I want to share with you, and then I'm going to shut up and I'm going to answer any questions that you may have, is what I call the partnership SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis is something that teams have used, and I know that organizations use quite well to help them in their strategic planning, to help them start to figure out where they are or where they could be doing more or what they can use to move forward. But I have a unique way I want you to think about it, because it's important, I think, to individualize this and think about it for yourself first and foremost. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? Right? And you can go ahead and look those words up if you need to, but they're pretty simple. Your strengths are things that, you look at and go, wow, this is something I'm really, really good at. This is something that I really, really value. This is something that's really, really important to me. These are things that would be strengths. Weaknesses would be the corresponding effort. So if you're a good speaker, then maybe a weakness might be listening. Who knows? But I want you to look at your strengths and weaknesses, and I want you to find the corresponding and relative values that there are in the other boxes, right? So if you were, for example, to take some of your strengths or one of your strengths and you maximize it to its nth degree, to the highest level it possibly can go, it might present an opportunity that you hadn't thought about. I think about your opportunities as just opportunities, but you don't necessarily think of them connected to your strengths. Or opportunities might be weaknesses. I mean, might come from weaknesses that are no longer weaknesses because you've made them strengths and you've overcome them, and now they represent opportunities to you. You see, there's correlation between all these 4 boxes, and I want you to look at them, and I want you not to look at them just as individual boxes, but look at how they relate to one another and what strengths or correlate with what weaknesses, and vice versa. If you have a weakness in something, it may be a corresponding strength. Some people would say me getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night is a weakness that's taking a toll on me. But I recently took a funny scan, what do they call those things? Assessment. And I'll put it in the chat if I can find it. I recently took an assessment that shows that there's certain characteristics of a person based on, their natural biorhythms and how their body functions and how they think and all those things that make them more natural to get less sleep and more natural in certain, but to have higher energies at certain times of the day. And so for me, the midnight hour, the evening times are when I'm up, when I'm most awake, when I'm most energetic, when I'm most engaged in almost anything. Great time for me to write, great time for me to discover, great time for me to create. Even exercise at the end in the evening, not in the morning. I'm not a morning person. I'm an evening person. I'm a wolf as a regard to the animal that they are. They compare in the analysis I was sharing with you to people to animals. My spirit animal is a wolf. Like, we're night owls. We're carnivorous and we like to hunt, especially in the dark. And that's when I find that I have the most activity and the most. So I don't sleep when everybody else is asleep. I'm up. I'm up. I'm working. I'm doing stuff that is valuable, right? So that might be a weakness for some, but it's not a weakness for me. If I were to list my lack of sleep as a weakness, then my corresponding strength to that would be I get a lot done. That a lot of people just don't know how I get it done, because I'm not spending, half of my life asleep. I'm awake and I'm up and I'm moving things along. And so that's a strength of mine, but it's a weakness and a strength. There might be some corresponding corollaries that you can go. That's why it's important to do that. Now, not always important to do it for yourself, the SWOT analysis for yourself. It's important to do the SWOT analysis on your partner or person that you're thinking about you want to work with, because what you're looking for is ways you can connect in terms of your strengths and opportunities, but also ways you can support each other, because maybe someone else's weakness is, or someone else's strength is a weakness for you, and if you come together, you now mitigate that weakness and turn what was a weakness for you into opportunities for you both. So doing the SWOT analysis on another person, again, not with them in the room, right? Not an interview type of situation where you're just thinking about what you already know about them. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the opportunities that present themselves as a result of their strengths? And what are the threats that present themselves as a result of their weaknesses? And how do those things correlate together to create a full profile of a SWOT analysis? Make as many copies of this as you want to make. Here is when the magic happens. When you come together and you share your SWOT analysis of yourself and the SWOT analysis of your partner, and you're able to swap and share those ideas together. This is tough because this is feedback in a way that many of us have never gotten it, to have someone else assess our strengths and our weaknesses for us and opportunities and threats, and then share what they think about it with us. But again, I told you earlier, feedback is important to great partnerships. You got to be willing and able to openly and honestly discuss what you think about each other and how you think each other can benefit from what you could be wrong. It's okay. You got to be willing to be wrong, though. You got to be willing to put it out there and then discuss and commit to a discussion of these things. And then when you discuss them and you share them back and forth with each other, you're going to come up with what's true and what's not true, or what someone wants you to believe about them versus what you do believe about them. All those things are all going to come to the forefront, come to the table. But then ultimately, you need to get to do a SWOT analysis on each other, or on the team itself. Not on each other, but on the team itself. So there's a SWOT analysis for you, the individual, a SWOT analysis for your partner, the other person that you're trying to partner with, and then the SWOT analysis you would collectively do together. Each of you would end up doing 3. Again, make as many copies of this as you want to do. This might take a retreat for a weekend or a day or whatever that is for you to work on these types of things. But I promise you, at the end of it, when you've done the partnership SWOT analysis the way I've described just now, what you're going to find is you're going to discover things about each other that you didn't know were there, no matter how long you've known each other. you're going to discover, you're going to be able to then to connect and relate to each other in a way you may have never done so before. And it's going to make all of your meetings sweeter, all of your partnership endeavors better, and it's going to help you grow as a professional. Okay, so this is today's Coffee to You and Me. We're at this. It's now an hour and 8 minutes so far, it looks like. And I think we've done a great job of really going through all the information that I think you need to know to develop wonderful win-win relationships and wonderful win-win partnerships. So make sure that as you move along and as you move through whatever you're doing, that you carry these ideas in front of you. These 4 key concepts of working together with other people will never, ever let you down. It will always be important that in any relationships, professional relationships that you endeavor to be in, that you, 1, respect one another. You, 2, figure out ways to commit to helping each other win. You, 3, maintain optimistic and positive outlook on everything you do. And last but not least, celebrate. Have a great time. Enjoy every moment that you get to be together, to play together, to work together, because you never know when that next moment is going to happen again. So have fun. Okay, this is Coach Powell, and this has been Coffee to You and Me. If I don't see any further questions, then we're going to sign off for the day. This has been number 6 in our series of discussions on the 9 steps to relationship mastery, the ladder to professional success. Next week, we're going to get into the final part of our series. And just to recap, we have really gone through 6 lessons over the last 6 weeks that have helped you to strengthen and build and understand how to develop relationships better, especially from a networking point of view. And these last 3 programs or ideas are really things that we only get into. I only get into generally when I'm dealing with executives that run major teams. But they're still important for you to understand, even if you don't have a team. This next 3 phases are really when you get to a maximum level of trusting in an organization, that you're starting to work together from an organizational thought process. And we're moving out of the individual and into the interpersonal, and then through the interpersonal into the organizational as we move up the leadership level and move up the leadership ideas and concepts when it comes to building professional relationships. I hope you guys understand that. And so if you've seen the copy or the illustration we have of the 9 steps, then you'll know that you're moving up the ladder. Each step along that ladder is helping you grow as a professional. And I hope you will grow with us, and I hope you will continue to be with us. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next party. Great having you guys. Great for being here. Thank you for your time, and more importantly, your attention. Keep the chat going. Keep the discussions going about win-win partnerships. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your boy. This is Coach Powell from Coach Powell Training and Development, and I'm signing out.